Hello, everybody. This is the Astrology Divas, or we are the Astrology Divas, I should probably say. I am Astrologer Dawn, and this is
Astrologer Catherine.
Oh, I like that. You're giving yourself a new name. I like that. We've done a lot of stuff together over the past. I don't usually like to go into talking about who we are at the beginning because I think you're all going to be bored of that and you don't really care who we are anyway. You just want to know the information that we're going to give. But we're just going to do a brief thing. Astrologer Dawn, I've been in my business now for 30 years this year. Been on the radio and podcasts for over 25, 26, 27 years, something like that. Do astrology, human design, tarot, and I've been a coach for about 27 years as well. I work primarily with women to help them decide what they want their life to look like when they grow up. And that's me. And I just like to keep it simple. But Catherine, tell them
Now,
about
what
you.
we have in common is we're
Oh,
both
yes.
astrologers,
Yep, that's true.
and we call ourselves the Astrology Divas.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sun in Aquarius, and you have a moon in Aquarius.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about the age of Aquarius.
Yes.
In addition to being an astrologer, I have a counseling degree. I'm also a medium, and so dead people talk to me.
They do.
And I work in the energy healing field. I'm a Reiki master. And I participated in research at the University of Arizona on dreaming and energy healing and mediumship.
That must have been interesting. That must
Well,
have been.
I'm a Gemini rising, so
Yeah,
many things.
many things, many
Well, what we
things.
really want to focus on is the age of Aquarius, since
Yes.
we have the Aquarian in common, and
Mm-hmm.
what that means and what's happening in the world, and answer the question, why now? Why is a certain event or a particular person in the news?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening in the astrological world that would be an indicator of and answer the question, why is this happening now?
And the other thing is, remember, for us and well, all astrologers, I think, we have this saying in astrology, as above, so below. So whatever's going on in the sky is reflected on the planet. And Catherine and I follow all of this, and we see that to be true because we can pull out events that happen and then like, oh yeah, that's this, that's Mars in this, that's Pluto in that, that's Uranus in this that's going on.
Well, we
So
also can look back
yes.
historically and see what happened the last time this certain transit or planet was in a particular sign and look at the cycles of, is history repeating itself based on those transits, they're called.
Yes, absolutely. Now I think different astrologers have a different date for when the age of Aquarius started, but there's a predominant amount that believes that really started. When would you say?
Well, as you say, there's a debate. Nobody actually agrees.
Yeah.
But I think when Jupiter and Saturn moved into Aquarius, followed by Pluto, I think when
Mm,
Pluto finally got there,
yeah.
then people agreed. And when was that? November. I'm too good because
November
it waffled back
19th.
and forth
I
for a
know.
while.
November 19th, 2024 is when Pluto went into Aquarius and didn't
It's
go back and stayed there. Yeah.
yes. So I would say most astrologers would agree once Pluto joined the party,
Yes.
because Pluto, even though it was demoted by astronomers to a dwarf planet, Pluto packs a
Yes.
punch.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Just because astronomers decided that it was a dwarf planet doesn't affect astrology. Astronomy and astrology used to be this one and the same thing up until the Age of Enlightenment. And the difference is uh, astronomy is the study of the physicality of the planet, whereas astrology is the study of the psychology of the planet. So they're just two different parts of looking at planets.
So we want to focus on Pluto moving into Aquarius
Yeah.
and what does that mean? What kind of events have been possibly triggered by that or activated?
Yeah.
And what we might expect because it's going to be there for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So we sort of need to begin by talking a little bit about what is Aquarius and what is Pluto, what is Scorpio, what is Uranus. And basically, those constellations and planets are responsible for change in the world. I call them the change planets.
Yeah.
Uranus pretty quickly. Sometimes I call it the 2x4 upside the third eye. Wake up, smell the
Yeah, wake
coffee.
up. Yeah.
And Pluto, much slower, turning coal into diamonds, intense
Yeah.
pressure, but a longer
Longer
platform.
reach, and a longer reach it has
Yes.
on us as well.
So when
Definitely.
you bring those two together, you put Pluto in Aquarius, then we can have both sudden and unexpected, and then we can have a pattern that we see has some historical
Yeah.
play in.
Yeah. 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 Because when we look back at this time in the world, the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was, I think it was 1777 it started, or 1778.
Yeah.
And so that was right after the Declaration of Independence in America. But we had the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Irish Uprising. So at that time, and this fits well with Aquarius, of course, there was all this people suddenly going, wait, I don't like that. I got to change this. This needs to change. So all of a sudden, and the people were rising up against power, against other people having power over them.
Well, Pluto rules power.
Yeah, and
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 Aquarius is the revolution or the
yeah,
revolt.
yes.
So that
So
makes sense.
so we had revolution back then. I always thought that it would be similar, except for the guns, because it seems to me that Pluto and Aquarius this time is much more about what goes on online. It's much more about that kind of stuff, which is an Aquarius, that fits
Well,
Aquarius anyway.
Aquarius rules technology.
Yeah,
So even the start of the internet and all that
yeah.
we see connected with technology is Aquarius.
Exactly. So it doesn't mean we won't still have things that happened during the Revolutionary War, which was muskets. You know, we don't have muskets anymore. So there will be individuals who go out and do that, but it's much more likely that all of the problems are going to be tried to be dealt with online, which you can't deal with them all online, but that's where the biggest influence is coming, because Aquarius rules technology. And
Yeah.
so, we've all heard about AI. That's not the only thing that's coming. There's a lot more things that we have no idea what they are because they're Aquarius energy. Science is also going to expand. I would expect over the next 20 years for there to be either vaccines or some kind of cures for different things like Parkinson's or cancer, or because science is going to expand. And now we're not just talking about America, because right now there is a huge scientific community in Europe that is studying this kind of stuff. So this isn't just about
It's global.
it's global,
Yeah.
the things that are going on, changes that are happening all over the world. Um, and some of that is if we look back to what happened before. So what happened before Pluto in Aquarius was Pluto in Capricorn, again, about 20 years. And we had some things happening that at the time were unexpected. For example, Barack Obama becoming president of the United States. I don't think that was expected by a lot of people. We had the global financial crisis because of subprime loans. We had the pandemic. So the Aquarius energy that wasn't actually going on was going on in other signs. We
Right.
had Uranus. Did we have Uranus in Pisces then? We had
Mm.
something in Pisces because I remember thinking, oh, sometimes that is to do with medical problems back when just before the pandemic was announced. But
And I remember thinking it had something to do, maybe it was Neptune,
Neptune, yeah,
because I remember thinking, oh,
Neptune
we're
in
going to have a
Pisces.
lot of flooding and
Neptune,
hurricanes and rain.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yes.
And it was actually illness.
Yeah.
But that was flooding. It was flooding the world. That was happening. So we had a lot of things that happened um, around the world during the Pluto and Capricorn. And Capricorn's all about power, control, rules, regulations,
Hierarchy.
hierarchy. Yeah, yeah.
Where
Um,
Aquarian is much more about grassroots and
yeah,
people and
everyday people.
boots on
Yeah.
the ground kind of thing.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
it's interesting because if we look at, when Pluto was in Capricorn, that is also when there was more of a rise of the billionaires at that
Yes.
time. Because in America, I don't know about everywhere else in the world, but we have about 10 people that own this country now. And so I think that's going to change though, because Pluto in Aquarius is a bit like the French Revolution when Marie
Yes.
Antoinette said, let them eat cake. And they were actually revolting against how much the price of flour was. So obviously Marie Antoinette didn't even know how to make a cake because she didn't know you needed flour for it. And I think they were pretty disappointed. So she got her head cut off because of that. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. We're not for violence. We're for talking things out. But it's interesting of what's going on now. So Pluto, let's talk about Pluto in Aquarius because it
Yes.
has, it's dipped in and out as it always does to the previous sign. So it didn't officially hit the Aquarius energy for the next 20 years until November the 14th of last year. So it's relatively recent.
November 19th.
Sorry, November 19th of
Yes.
last year.
Yeah.
So it's not even been a year yet that
Right.
we've had Pluto in Aquarius. And
And during that year, it's retrograded. In
yeah,
fact, it's retrograde right now, meaning
yeah.
it appears like it is moving backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think when planets are retrograding, that's the time to re-examine or re-evaluate what
Yeah,
did we do. And I always say it's like going back into the locker room after the first half of a football game and
yeah,
deciding what plays worked and what didn't. What are we going to
yeah,
do differently in the second half? So
yeah,
Pluto is retrograding right now. It got
yeah,
up to 3 degrees and then it retrograded on October 13th in the
yeah,
evening, it will finally go direct and move forward again.
yeah. And
So
then
in
we
this
can look
period
at
that is moving backwards, what are we looking at now?
we're looking at what have we learned? What do we like? What don't we like? What do we want to continue? What do we want to say no to? So we are going to be looking, well, we are looking back at this time with the Pluto in Aquarius. You know, Aquarius is also about freedom. So it's fascinating to look around the world and see how many strong men, and I call them strong men because they are all men that are doing this. There's not any women that are doing this. They want to keep everybody under their control. I mean, you can look at obviously the communist countries like China and some of those other places that have got dictatorships. It's all about controlling people. Well, that was fine when Pluto was in Capricorn
Yes.
because people weren't going to be really fighting against that because they didn't really know what was going on. But once we hit Aquarius, it's like, wait, what do you mean you're telling me what to do
And taking my freedom away.
and taking my freedom away? Yeah, that's the other thing. So you lose a lot of freedoms during Pluto in Capricorn, which we did in this country. Other countries did as well, with different things. But when it goes into Aquarius, we're like, nah, I think it's no, I don't want XYZ taken away. It is also about finding your tribe.
Yes. Yes.
So we need to be really careful with that, what tribe it is that you are subscribing to. Because there's a lot of them out there, and you really want to make sure that whatever tribe you join really represents your beliefs.
Yeah, that you're in alignment with
Yeah,
what their stated purpose is.
yeah,
I like to say Aquarius, the glyph for Aquarius is two zigzaggy lines.
yeah.
I like to say the first zigzag is about your uniqueness, your
Mm,
individualism, what
yeah.
asset, and like I call it your secret sauce or
Yes,
your potluck dish. And the second zigzaggy line, because Aquarius rules groups and communities and
yes,
tribes, like you mentioned, is figuring out which table do you want to bring your potluck dish to? Who are
yeah.
the people at the table that you're joining that recognize your asset and what you have to offer? And by bringing it to that table, it enhances whatever that group's purpose and
Yes,
project is. So
yeah,
that's the ultimate goal, I think, of what we would be asking ourselves right now is what is my asset and
yeah.
what
What do I
do
have to
I bring to
offer?
the table
Yeah.
and what table do I want to bring it to?
Yeah, and that is going to take time because we're only, like I said, November, what was it, the 19th, 2024
Yeah.
was the first time that that it consistently is going to be in Aquarius until the end, and then it'll do this back and forth again with the next sign. And so we have to, we're in this period of time where we're not in it enough yet.
Right.
So we're coming from a place of at the beginning of it, you and I. We're looking at it at the beginning of, and then looking back at what happened last time. Um, you know, because the last time it dipped into Aquarius, it's all sudden and
Unexpected.
unexpected, and sometimes
Shocking.
shocking.
Yes.
Sometimes shocking as well. Things like that happen.
Are people saying, I didn't see that coming? That's very,
Yes.
Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius and it's the
Yeah.
planet that rolls around on its side. So
Yes.
I'd like to
Yes.
say, yes, expect the unexpected. We don't
Yeah.
always know, but I like to say the way I frame Uranus is we were standing on terra firma until Uranus came along and took us on a magic carpet ride. And what we're doing is trying to keep our balance, use our resources, figuring out where this carpet ride is going to end and
Mm.
when.
Yeah.
But what I like to say about Uranus, because it is about not just revolution, it's about evolution,
Mm.
we're going to land on higher ground.
Yes.
What does that higher ground look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
So a good time for all of us to be focusing on what do we want as opposed to what we don't want.
And as individuals, that's how we can then find our groups or our
Yes,
tribes or our organizations that we need to
yes,
belong to, that
yes.
we support because we have the same ideas or the same beliefs or are going in a very similar direction.
And
So
Aquarius rules communes too.
oh yes, so all those tiny homes, that's funny because I have a client that I just suggested, she's got a couple of 100 acres, and I suggested that hey, maybe you need to put a tiny home community on there. You never know. So that makes sense in this
And
Aquarius
community
energy.
gardens. That's an Aquarius
Excuse me.
endeavor, where
Yeah,
people come together with a like mind and a very clear vision,
yeah,
and everybody has something to offer to the project.
yeah. Now, worldwide, we've seen, I mean, I don't know that this is unexpected, but a couple of weeks ago when I saw that China, Russia, India, and North Korea were all getting together to form some kind of pact. I wouldn't,
Aquarian in a way.
Aquarian in a way,
Mhm.
but I actually expected that. I mean, I've been saying for years, we cannot be an isolationist country because otherwise what's going to happen is China, India, Russia, North Korea, they're all going to
Are going to align.
they're going to align and start serving people and cut America out. Well, that might be surprising for some people because there are many, many people born in the USA that think that the USA is the center of the universe. And I hate to tell you, it's not. It's barely mentioned in English history. Something happened to that country. Oh, yeah, then they became America. We have from 1066 in England
Mhm.
history. So why would we look at just 250 years? I mean, it's just not enough for us to look at. So it's interesting how different places in the world are going to change. I mean, we had a change in government in England. I don't think it was surprising, though. That's the thing. We went from the Tories to the Liberals. But I don't know that that's really that surprising, given what the Tories did to England, taking it out of Brexit and all that kind of stuff. So, and that could be unexpected because 10 years ago, when Pluto was in Capricorn, maybe people wouldn't have said, oh, well, yeah, that happens. You know,
Right.
we're giving less grace, which is fine, to people who do things that are universally not liked, like child pornography and, rape of women and
Well, and all of that is ruled by Pluto too,
yeah,
right?
yeah, all of
So
that.
here we have another example of
Yeah,
Pluto moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius.
yeah,
So what Dawn and I would like to do is look at events
yeah.
globally, not just US. Could be sports, could be politics, could be education, could be any field.
Music, art, could be
Yes.
art. Yes.
And look at what in astrological terms, what
Yes.
transits acted like a catalyst to bring that to the forefront so that we would pay attention and perhaps address, does that need to be changed? Do we
Yeah.
need to update that?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's interesting, the educational system in this particular country, um, that's going through the Aquarius change right now.
Yeah.
It was brought up during the Capricorn period, which this is what happens during Pluto and Capricorn is institutions get looked at in depth. So
Yes.
healthcare, which of course the
Yeah.
pandemic made us have to look at that a lot more. The government, and whether it's local, state or federal, we had to look at what they were doing.
Well, part of that is the Pluto return in the US chart.
Yes. Yeah.
Pluto in the United States charts in Capricorn, I think
Yeah.
27 degrees.
27 degrees.
And
Yes.
so when Pluto came back around, it said, let's look at all these institutions that you have in place and
Yeah.
decide, are they still serving the people? Are they outdated, too restrictive? So
And what needs
everything,
changing and what needs changing in it
exactly, and updating
and updating.
because we've outgrown it.
And the good news, I guess it's good news about that. The people who usually destroy, maybe destroy is not the right word, that
Disrupt.
disrupt those institutions are not the people that resolve, that come up with a resolution.
Right.
They might try to, but that's not going to really work because we're in a different age now. So, there's going to be new people, younger people
Yes.
who are going, and that's what it is. Like Generation Z is going to be the ones that make the difference in the world. It's what they want because it is their world. They're the ones that are going to have to live in it when we're all gone. And so it makes sense that those people would be the ones that have
The
some
new
answers.
ideas.
The new ideas, yeah,
Mhm.
new ideas, definitely. And the reason that it is, and I know I've got clients all over the world, so all over the world will be looking at this. The reason that this seems so contentious in America is because we've just gone through our Pluto return. It only happens every 250 years. So nobody's been alive. We weren't
Yes.
alive in the last one. And we're the only country that's going through its Pluto return at the moment.
Yes.
England will be going through it is when it's in Pisces. So I'll expect more upheaval going on over the
There.
pond at that time.
Yes.
But the upheaval in every way, shape, and form
Yeah.
has happened in America.
Yes. And now what we're doing as Pluto's
Yeah,
moved into Aquarius is trying to find, how are we going to reset? How are we going to rebuild? What are we going to create in its place?
yeah,
And
yeah.
like you said, I think it'll be the youth, the younger
Hmm.
minds, probably coupled with technology,
Yeah, yeah.
to create what we, I think, can't even imagine.
Well, and I was just reading an article this morning about Gen Z. They stay an average of a year in a job. And when they're in that job, they're already looking for the next one
Oh,
because they're
interesting.
not interested. And if you think back to, I don't know, the 1950s in most countries, or most democratic countries, I guess that's the way to put it. You stayed at the same job, you got a gold watch, and then you got a
Yes.
pension. Well, there's no pensions anymore. That got rid of.
Yeah.
You have to invest in your own 401k or something. You have to invest in something in order to get that money for when you retire. So we've had a massive change in the way things are done, even in that short period of time, because that actually isn't a very long period of time if we look at history, that we've had a huge amount of change. Um,
And
some
of
of,
course, humans don't like
no,
change
no, they
and
don't.
sometimes get into resisting the change, which is part of what I think we're seeing, especially with Pluto retrograding,
Yeah,
is resisting what this new push is.
yeah,
But once Pluto goes direct in October 13th, I'm going to be real curious to see, okay, what movement forward is there? What
yeah.
new ideas start to emerge? What new groups start to take hold?
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. And remember, this also affects your own personal chart
Yes.
because wherever you have Aquarius in your chart, so you might have planets that are in Aquarius, but everybody has Aquarius somewhere in their chart. It might not be a planet, but it will be in one of the houses. And you need to know what house it's in so that you will realize that that's where the biggest changes is happening. I've got clients at the moment that have Pluto is going through their seventh house and they're questioning all of their relationships, and some of them are working out and some of them have to split with people because things are not quite working out. And so it's been very interesting to see, I
Mm.
had no idea that he was going to leave me. Like there was no, well, Pluto in
Warning.
Aquarius, this is
Yes.
Pluto in Aquarius. And
Yes.
so in your own chart, Pluto in Aquarius is going to be affecting something in your chart. Obviously, the more planets that you have in Aquarius, the more it's going to affect you. So for me, I have my moon in Aquarius, so my emotions are going to be more affected by this Pluto. Now, it's not at the moment aligned with my moon. It's not, I guess that's because we don't want to talk in too many astrological terms that people won't
Right.
understand. It's just not aligned yet, but it will be in the next few years. So I could expect a major transformation in my emotions and how I deal with things or how I respond to things or, something like that. And yours,
Mine is my sun,
yeah,
but again, it's 22 degrees, so not
yeah,
aligned yet.
hmm,
Um, and it's also my 10th house of career. So it
yeah,
probably answers the question why we're doing this now or why I'm participating.
yeah,
And then in my progress chart, which tracks your growth,
yeah.
my moon just moved into Aquarius. So I have a moon like you do.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing how that is because your moon is normally in Pisces.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it'll be interesting to see what it's like in Aquarius. But yeah, so you need to know in your own chart, do you have any Aquarius planets? Catherine and I are going to be putting a link in this video. You can check out both of our websites. Plus, we're also going to put a link to intuitivepathfinders.com, which is a podcast that we did years ago, but it's all about intuition. I think there's like 13 of them.
Yes.
So go listen to it and see if you can define what your intuition is, because you might hear something and go, well, I that happens to me. Yep, that happens to me. Oh
And
yeah.
intuition might be the best tool to use to navigate this change that we're in. What does your
Yeah.
gut say? What does your
Yeah. Yeah.
deepest, wisest, most intuitive part of you tell you about
Yeah.
this change?
Yeah.
So having those tools, and like you said, there's 13 episodes that
Yeah.
talk about all kinds of suggestions for how to develop your intuition, might be the very thing that helps you navigate this major, major change
Yeah.
that we're in.
Yeah. But knowing which house it's
Yes.
going through in your chart is going to determine where the most change is probably going to take place. If you've got it in the fourth house, good chance you're going to move. May not want to, may have to.
Yes.
It could be you're married and your husband or wife or your partner gets a job in another country. And so unexpectedly, here you are having to pack up and move somewhere
Move.
else. I mean, it could be negative. You lose your house in foreclosure. It certainly could be things like that as well. And it's unexpected. You thought somebody was paying the mortgage and you find out they were spending it on other places. And it's like, oh, that's a shock as well. So expect I don't know how you do that, how we expect the unexpected. I
I
don't
think
know.
we just stay open
Open.
to possibilities and
Yeah.
potentials
Yeah.
and not be resistant, is what I would say.
I think that is the thing, is not to be and to be open. It's like when I read the news now, I don't have an emotional attachment to it like I used to. I used to be always upset about something or happy about something that I read in the news. And now I just look at it. Now I look at it in terms of, oh, is that Pluto in Aquarius? I'm always looking
Yes.
at, is that Pluto in Aquarius? So I'm looking at it very differently this time. And obviously, I'm not just looking at American news, I'm looking at worldwide news as well to see what's going on in other countries. And I'm seeing some unexpected things going on. And so it's like, oh, yeah, we have to find a way to not react in an overly emotional way about things, because Pluto in Aquarius is not about that. It's
Right.
a bit factual, actually. And so it's, it's truth and facts.
So we'll do our best to look at
Yes,
events and inform you of what we
yes,
see that acted as a catalyst, and check out our websites. And if you need how you personally might be affected, we
yes,
can look at your chart and give you an
yeah,
idea of what area.
yeah,
And hopefully it'll bring some, at least for me, some calming, peaceful, knowing that it's part of a progression that we are evolving, moving towards. And I like to say the word revolution, the word evolution
yes.
contains the word love, and
Yeah.
keeping that sort of in our wisdom.
And sometimes when I forget about that and I'll get all hyped up about something, I'll just talk to Catherine and she'll just remind me about, remember we're in Pluto in Aquarius. I'm like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. And we're retrograde, so we're looking at what's happened over the last 6 months.
And we'll be looking at other planets that act
Yes.
like catalysts as well, not
Yeah.
just Pluto and
No,
Uranus,
no.
because Mars can activate something,
Yeah.
so
Plus,
we'll,
we have two planets that have just moved. We have Saturn. Well, it's back in Pisces right now, but Saturn had entered Aries, and then
yes,
also Neptune had entered
yes,
Aries, and then Uranus has entered
Gemini,
Gemini.
yes,
So we've got the Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto have all entered into new planets, which is
new
kind of unusual.
signs,
New signs, sorry,
yes,
which is kind of unusual. And so
yes,
we can expect lots of change, but we're going to
yes,
talk about those in another video about,
yes.
what those affect.
So thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining us. You know where we are if you need us because our links are below.
And when you ask the questions, why now? Tune in and we'll answer you.